In 1976, a mechanical engineer in Michigan spread crushed rock on part of his 10-acre farm. Not fertilizer, not compost, not lime, crushed rock. The kind of grey, powdery gravel dust you would find at the bottom of any quarry in the country. The following year, his corn produced 65 bushels per acre. The farms around him, all using conventional synthetic fertilizer, produced under 25. His corn was not just more abundant, it tested higher in minerals. It resisted pests. It grew with a vigor that his neighbors could not explain and did not believe. The man's name was John Hamaker. He was not a farmer by training, he was an engineer. He had spent years studying glaciers, soil chemistry, and the geological cycles that had driven soil fertility on this planet for billions of years. What he had figured out was so simple, so obvious, and so threatening to a $200 billion industry that he spent the rest of his life trying to get anyone to listen. The Earth already knows how to remineralize soil. It has been doing it since before life existed on land. Every time a glacier advances, it grinds the bedrock beneath it into fine powder. Millions of tons of mineral-rich dust, containing up to 100 different elements, are crushed to a particle size that soil microorganisms can access immediately. When the glacier retreats, that dust is spread across the landscape by wind and meltwater. It coats the exposed earth. Rain drives it into the topsoil. Microbes begin to digest it, and within decades, the most fertile soil on the planet forms in the glacier's wake. This is not theory. This is the geological record. Every great agricultural region on Earth sits on land that was glaciated or volcanically fertilized, from the breadbasket of North America to the wheat fields of Northern Europe, the fertile valleys of New Zealand, the volcanic soils of Hawaii, Java, and Iceland, and the slopes of Mount Vesuvius. Every place on Earth where soil is naturally extraordinary shares one thing in common. It has been recently mineralized by geological forces, by glaciers, by volcanoes, by the slow, patient grinding of rock into dust. Consider the Nile Valley. For thousands of years, the annual flood of the Nile carried volcanic silt from the Ethiopian highlands and deposited it across the Egyptian floodplain. This silt was essentially rock dust delivered by water. It remineralized the soil every year for free, without any human intervention. Ancient Egypt built one of the greatest civilizations in human history on the back of that annual mineral deposit. When the Aswan Dam was completed in 1970, the floods stopped, the silt stopped, and within a generation, Egyptian farmers became dependent on synthetic fertilizer for the first time in 5,000 years. The dam did not just stop water, it stopped minerals. And an entire agricultural system that had sustained a civilization for millennia collapsed into chemical dependency. And every place on Earth where soil is failing, where harvests decline year after year, where farmers spend more and more money on synthetic inputs to maintain yields that keep falling anyway, shares one thing in common too. The minerals are gone. Modern agriculture does not replace minerals. It replaces three of them: nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium. NPK. The synthetic fertilizer that sustains global food production delivers three elements out of the roughly 60 that plants need for complete metabolic function. It is like feeding a human being nothing but protein, sugar, and salt, and wondering why they get sick. The remaining 57 elements, the calcium, magnesium, iron, manganese, zinc, copper, boron, molybdenum, cobalt, selenium, silicon, and dozens of trace minerals that plants require for enzyme function, disease resistance, pest defense, and nutritional density, are removed from the soil with every harvest and never put back. This is called soil mining, and it has been happening at industrial scale for over a century. Every ton of wheat harvested removes roughly 25 pounds of minerals from the soil. Every ton of corn removes even more. Over a century of continuous cropping, the accumulated mineral deficit is staggering. Studies have shown that the nutritional content of fruits and vegetables has declined measurably over the past 50 to 70 years. A tomato grown today contains significantly less calcium, iron, and vitamin C than a tomato grown in 1950. The food looks the same, it tastes similar, but it is not the same food. The minerals that were in the soil are no longer there, and what is not in the soil cannot be in the plant, and what is not in the plant cannot be in the person who eats it. The United Nations Food and Agriculture Organization has warned that at current rates of degradation, the world has roughly 60 harvests left in its topsoil. 60. Not 600, not 6,000. 60. We are not slowly declining. We are approaching a cliff, and the industry responsible for managing the soil is the same industry that profits from its depletion. John Hamaker saw this coming in 1982 when he published The Survival of Civilization. The book argued that the demineralization of agricultural soils was not just an agricultural crisis, it was a civilizational one. He calculated that remineralizing American farmland with rock dust could enable agriculture to produce 4 times as much food, or the same amount at 25% lower cost, without the need for pesticides or chemical fertilizers. He called it the most powerful idea in human history. The book was endorsed by the author of the Annual Review of the Environment for the Encyclopaedia Britannica. It was praised by the co-author of The Secret Life of Plants. It launched a worldwide movement called Remineralize the Earth. Conferences were held, research projects were funded, field trials were conducted across multiple continents, and the fertilizer industry did not respond. It did not need to. It simply continued selling 3 minerals for the price of 60. Now let me show you what the science actually says. In Panama, researchers from the Geotherapy Project applied basalt rock dust to severely depleted tropical soils. The results, published as a chapter in the book Geotherapy, documented growth rate increases of more than 5 times on soils that had been considered permanently degraded. 5 times on soil that conventional agriculture had written off as dead. The mechanism is straightforward. Basalt is cooled volcanic magma. It contains high concentrations of silica, iron oxide, calcium oxide, magnesium, potassium, and a broad spectrum of trace elements. When ground to a fine powder, these minerals become accessible to soil microorganisms, particularly bacteria and mycorrhizal fungi, which digest the rock particles and convert the minerals into plant-available forms. The process mimics exactly what happens on the floor of a volcanic island or in the wake of a retreating glacier. The only difference is that instead of waiting 10,000 years for a glacier to do the work, you open a bag and spread the dust by hand. In Germany, a landscape consultant named Fritz Leipold tested basalt rock dust on a 2.5-hectare plot starting in 1948. His results documented significant positive effects on plant vigor, survival rates, and resistance to pests, disease, drought, and freezing temperatures. Not just growth, resistance. The plants were not merely bigger, they were stronger, healthier, more resilient to every category of stress. In Brazil, researchers at the Federal University of Paraná tested basalt rock powder on soybean and maize. The results showed improved soil pH, increased calcium and magnesium availability, and enhanced crop growth. A 2025 study published in the Journal of Cleaner Production confirmed that basalt rock dust improved soil fertility, increased silicon availability, enhanced rice leaf anatomy, and boosted stomatal density. The residual effects, meaning the benefits that continued without reapplication, improved soil productivity over time. The longer the rock dust sat in the soil, the better the soil performed. This is the opposite of synthetic fertilizer, which depletes its effect within a single season and requires annual repurchase. Rock dust gets better with age. It is a permanent investment in soil infrastructure, not a recurring subscription to a chemical service. And here is the detail that makes the fertilizer industry's silence on this topic perfectly understandable. Basalt rock dust is a waste product. Quarries that mine basalt for road construction, building materials, and landscaping produce enormous quantities of fine dust as a byproduct. This dust is typically considered waste. It sits in piles. It clogs equipment. Quarry operators pay to dispose of it or simply leave it to accumulate. The material that could remineralize every farm, garden, and forest on Earth is already being produced for free as an industrial byproduct that nobody wants. A 50-pound bag of basalt rock dust costs $3 to $8 at a landscape supply store, enough to cover a home garden for an entire season. Applied at a rate of 10 to 20 pounds per 100 square feet, mixed into the top few inches of soil or spread as a top dressing, it delivers dozens of minerals and trace elements over a period of years as it slowly weathers and breaks down. For even better results, mix rock dust into your compost pile. The microbial activity in the compost accelerates the weathering process, breaking down the mineral particles faster and making them available to plants sooner. Earthworms, which are among the most powerful mineral processors in any soil ecosystem, incorporate rock dust into their castings, further enhancing its availability. Add a handful to each transplant hole when setting out seedlings. Dust it lightly over seed beds before covering with soil. Sprinkle it into raised beds at the beginning of each season. The application is not precise. The rocks are not going anywhere. They sit in the soil and weather slowly, releasing their minerals on nature's schedule, not yours. Compare that to synthetic fertilizer. A bag of brand name NPK fertilizer costs $15 to $30, delivers 3 nutrients, lasts 1 season, and must be repurchased every year. Over 10 years, the fertilizer costs $300 and delivers 3 minerals. Over the same period, 2 applications of rock dust cost $10 to $16 and deliver 60 minerals. The economics are not even close. But the economics only matter if you are the buyer. If you are the seller, the calculus inverts. A product that is purchased once every few years and costs under $10 is a terrible business. A product that expires every season and costs $20 is a recurring revenue stream. The global fertilizer industry generates over $200 billion annually. This revenue depends entirely on soil remaining mineral deficient, so that farmers must repurchase inputs every single year. A permanent soil amendment that costs $5 and never needs to be replaced is not a product the industry can build a business around. Hamaker understood this. He designed his rock grinder to be patent-free. He published the specifications openly. He did not want anyone to own the technology. He wanted everyone to use it. He believed, with the conviction of an engineer who had studied the data, that the survival of human civilization depended on returning minerals to the soil before the topsoil was gone. He was largely ignored. Now, here is where the story connects to everything else you have seen on this channel. Rock dust does not just add minerals, it changes the electromagnetic and biological properties of the soil. Paramagnetic materials, and basalt is highly paramagnetic, enhance the soil's ability to interact with the Earth's magnetic field. Philip Callahan, the USDA entomologist whose work on insect infrared communication we covered in an earlier video, spent years testing the paramagnetic properties of soils. He found that the most fertile soils on Earth, without exception, had the highest paramagnetic readings. Soils from ancient sacred sites, volcanic regions, and glacial deposits all registered dramatically higher on his paramagnetic meter than depleted agricultural soils. Callahan argued that paramagnetic rock dust in the soil acts as an antenna, amplifying the natural electromagnetic frequencies that stimulate plant growth and microbial activity. Whether or not you accept the antenna theory, the measured correlation between paramagnetism and soil fertility is documented and consistent. Basalt is one of the most paramagnetic rocks on Earth. Adding it to depleted soil does not just deliver minerals, it changes the soil's physical relationship to the electromagnetic environment it exists in. When you combine rock dust with the other techniques we have documented on this channel, the effects compound. Biochar provides the surface area and carbon stability. Buried wood provides the moisture reservoir and decomposition energy. Copper provides the antimicrobial protection and galvanic anchor. Rock dust provides the mineral foundation that makes all of it work. A plant growing in soil that has adequate levels of all 60+ required elements does not emit the ethanol and ammonia distress signals that attract pest insects. A plant with complete mineral nutrition synthesizes full proteins instead of incomplete amino acids. It produces more lignin, thicker cell walls, higher Brix readings in its sap. It becomes, in Callahan's framework, electromagnetically invisible to pests. Not because the pests cannot find it, but because its signal does not register as food. This is what Hamaker was trying to explain in 1982. The fertilizer industry's 3-element model does not just leave 57 minerals out of the soil. It creates plants that are nutritionally incomplete, metabolically stressed, and electromagnetically broadcasting their vulnerability to every pest insect within range. Then the same industry sells you pesticides to kill the insects that their fertilizer attracted. It is not a conspiracy. It is a business model, and the business model requires your soil to stay sick. A $5 bag of crushed volcanic rock, applied once, delivers 60 minerals and gets stronger with time. It is compatible with every other method of building soil and available at any landscape supply store on the planet. The glaciers knew. The volcanoes knew. The indigenous peoples who farmed volcanic slopes for millennia knew. John Hamaker knew. The soil scientists at every university that has tested rock dust know. The industry knows too. They just cannot sell it to you every spring. If this is the first Forbidden Harvest video you have watched, subscribe and turn on the notification bell. We show you the science that industries would prefer stayed buried under 60 harvests of silence. Drop a comment below and tell us, have you tried rock dust in your garden? What happened? The harvest begins now.